All right. So I really, really, really hope this is a good idea. I have no idea if it's actually working. In fact, I was freaking out for a moment that the clock wasn't working. I'm doing a live stream. I don't expect anyone to actually join this live stream. I'm actually just using this to do a recording, stream of consciousness of what I want to do as a breakdown from here on out, or just try something different. So I just did the Calico 50K and I recorded a lot of the different parts of it. Every 5 miles, I was doing a check in. And so that's going to go up and be edited probably tomorrow or the next day and be up on Friday. But something that I've never been able to figure out, how do I include what I want to talk about the post run experience? So here you go. The post run experience, I think it's something that you don't need to be in shoes or sandals to appreciate. You just need to be a runner. And I think for a lot of people that are thinking about doing a 50K, these type of conversations, these type of reflections are the unsung heroes of inspiration, motivation, or just like checking in. So let's get into it. The interesting thing about doing this 50K was I went in with no training. Um, I was going to train since my last official race, which was the Joshua Tree Half Marathon in November. And then the following week, as I was recovering, I got sick. And then got over that right after Thanksgiving. And then I got sick again. And so I got to run in December and coming back to work and all that, got to run then, but nothing in terms of like appropriate training for a 50K. So, what did I experience on this 50K? I experienced a huge difference in how long it took me to get tired, but I also experienced how long uh, it took my body to start reacting to like being sore and all that. Because even though I was vastly not trained for this, I was rested for the first time. Like there's so many races that I trained so much for that by the time I got to the race, I was kind of exhausted and worn out. And then, the race went accordingly. Like that's the biggest thing I actually want to talk about. This race taught me where my stamina and my endurance are at when I am not trained for a race. So I was talking to my friend Ashley about the difference between stamina and endurance because usually people collapse the two. And this is the difference. Stamina is, like, best example I can give is you run at the same pace for a certain amount of time. So if you can run 7 minute miles for a straight hour without stopping that pace, that's your stamina. Endurance starts when your stamina runs out. And what I mean by that is you stop running as fast, it starts becoming a struggle, and then endurance kicks in, and you just keep going and keep going and keep going. And where you find out where your endurance level is at is everything after your stamina runs out. So, what did I experience in the race that taught me? With no training, I can do a half marathon distance, 12 miles, almost 13 miles, without that much of an issue. Like my body can handle it without a problem. That's where my current state of fitness is at. But where my endurance picks up is interesting because it was good after the 13 miles, wasn't easier. I was slowing down, but then in this race, I got to mile 18 and I was feeling okay. Like I was like, okay, I'll be able to do this. And then that's when the really rough terrain kicked in and I discovered endurance because it was no longer about just how my body felt. It was actually about how much my feet were getting kicked around and how much that was affecting me. I think shoes or sandals, when your feet start feeling tired, that's when endurance really kicks in. Because, like, if you step wrong, you're just, you want to walk. But then something interesting that I discovered that was like the same going on with the person who was wearing the Olympus fours and me in the sandals is at a certain point, it just hurt to walk. It actually felt better to run. And I thought that was a unique experience. So I was like, oh my God. So shoes or sandals. Now, I'll say this much about sandals. Um, it doesn't make me a faster runner. I came in with the people that had the injuries, the people that were like, I have a huge issue with my C band. I tied that person, the person with the injury. And then the 70-year-olds beat me. So 70-year-olds and the injury. That's what it is to run in sandals because it just slows you down, especially when you get to technical rock gardens. Like it's ridiculous. So yeah, that was that was enlightening. Um, where I want to go from here, let's see. I have two choices. There's describing what the race looked like, which is probably the best part, and I think something I actually want to start sharing because when people ask me how did the race go, it was terrible. It felt terrible. After 2.5 hours, 3 hours, 12 miles, my body sucked. But that's not what I remember. So maybe quick stream of consciousness, and then I actually want to talk about what this race is teaching me to focus on for the next big race in April. Okay, so uh, here's the narrative experience. So it's overcast, it's cold, it rained the night before. My buddy, you and I, we take off, we go down the paved road, and we get to the dirt road, and it's just horizon running. Like you got to go over the hill. It's not even really a hill, it's more like a rise, and it's just like super nice and super chill. And my God, was it beautiful? Smelled like creosote, or it would rain, so the creosote smelled beautiful. Like that's the thing I my nasal memory of the event. So then after that, started curving. Yuri started pulling ahead of me, and I just remember like going up into the like the foothills, and that seeming easy. I can't remember much after that, other than discovering that like the aid stations didn't have like gels. And so I was like, okay, well, I thought they had gels and they don't. So I'm going to eat the real food, the oranges, the bananas, the cantaloupe. Uh, and that was fine. They didn't have any electrolyte drink except for Gatorade. And I'm like, I wish I could drink that, but it's sugar. So yeah, just kept going. It was windy. Uh, I thought one part was really bad because it was like going up a wash, and it's like definitely ATV, but not really ATV because it all got washed out from the rain. It was being very careful with my feet, but I just remember being surrounded by walls, brown dirt, tall, mountainous walls, not really looking up because I'm too busy looking down. And then from there, kind of curving around, getting to a point where it was so windy that it was easy to get distracted by just how beautiful it was. Like literally, like you come up on this ridge and you're overlooking this whole valley of the desert, and that to me is the reason why the whole race was worth it. Took me 18 miles, and then thought it was going to be easy. I get to what I call the canyon. It's this swift drop down what is effectively just like a desert wash running downhill. It's the most rudimentary trail. Like you can see how people get down it, and it's incredibly unsafe. They had spotters on the bottom, and everything was like focused step by step by step by step by step by step by step. And I remember the steps. I remember looking down more at the rocks than at the sky and being really focused on that. And then came the fun part. Got down to the dirt road, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna get 6 hours for my marathon, or for a yeah, for a marathon distance. No, for 20 miles. I wanted 5 hours. So I'm like running. That was the first time I actually really actually pushed myself to like keep running because it was all downhill. Oh, it felt so good. My heart rate was low. The only time it got difficult was when the rock outcroppings made it difficult to run in sandals on rocks. And then kind of slowed down a little bit. My jacket started bothering me. Took it off, got to the aid station, ran into the person that I got the Airbnb from last year. And then it got hard after that aid station. It was climbing back up, and it was dips and dips and dips. Soft sand, but just like rocks everywhere. Not even soft sand, just like, it was a dirt road with a lot of rocks on it in a area that was super filled with mines and just like, why is this road even in this area going up and down like this? But it was. And then curving around. And I found it so annoying, even though it was kind of cool, dipping around and coming up on top of a ridge right next to Calico, then coming back into the parking lot, and then making your way up the last part of the hill, which was like, you got to be kidding me. So I was walking at that point, and then I was done. Almost done. I hit the finish line, saw that I was a little short of 31 miles. So I kept going a little bit, and then I came back. I did the runner thing. So that's the race, the experience. It was beautiful. Doesn't matter the physical pain. And what did I learn from it? I really, 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 really need to focus on my core. Hip flexors are in worlds of pain. Hamstrings were a little bit worn out. Lower back and lower abdominals got their stress. So after a certain point, because those were not tip top in great condition, they just like, I know what I'm working. I'm working on my glutes, my hamstrings, my hip flexors, like this whole area. You can't see it. I'm not gonna push it down because gross, but I'm gonna do that. And so I know the course of action in terms of like, if this is my base level fitness, I can do a 50K trail that's pretty rugged in the last half, then in 8 hours, 8.5 hours. I think I can do 100K in probably 15 to 20 hours. Hopefully not 24. And that's what I plan to do. But by the time I get there, I want to be rested and I want to be super fit in the areas that just are going to help me not like, I think that'll increase my stamina. So that way I can go 3 to 4 hours of just consistent pace. And the endurance, my body won't stop sucking towards the end. So, yeah, that's it. Next steps. It's all about the core. It's about getting back on my feet. And doesn't matter shoes or sandals. That's what I got to do. So, this is my first stream. No one joined. And I don't care. I'm going to be happy to put this up. Love you guys. Whoever ends up seeing this, love you for checking this out. See y'all on the flip side.